Hello! With this video, we begin the series on 3 antiepileptic drugs that belong to the carbamate class: Felbamate, Cenobamate, and Retigabine, also known as ezogabine. The series includes an introductory video, videos on retrosyntheses, and on the resulting syntheses. Here are shown the systematic name, CAS number, structures expressed in 2 and 3 dimensions for Felbamate. Notably, it has 2 carbamate groups. For Cenobamate, the presence of an asymmetric carbon with R configuration, a tetrazole heterocycle, and a carbamate group stands out. For Retigabine, the presence of an ethyl carbamate group and a fluorine atom stands out. These drugs originate from Cenobamate, a drug created in 1951, also known by the brand name Equinil, and it has been used as an anxiolytic, although it also has anticonvulsant activity. The same research group that created Cenobamate also developed Felbamate at the end of the 1950s, although its antiepileptic activity was discovered 30 years later. These drugs belong to the class of decarbamates. Subsequent research efforts generated the monocarbamates, such as Cenobamate and Retigabine. These drugs are considered to have several mechanisms of action aimed at reducing neuronal hyperexcitability associated with the generation of seizures. Felbamate and Cenobamate have in common the ability to enhance the effects of the inhibitory neurotransmitter GABA, thereby reducing neuronal hyperexcitability. Additionally, Felbamate blocks the NMDA receptors of the excitatory neurotransmitter glutamate, and Cenobamate inhibits voltage-dependent sodium channels. On the other hand, Retigabine has a novel mechanism, the activation of voltage-dependent potassium channels. In this sense, Retigabine can be considered a pioneering drug. We can divide carbamates into dicarbamates and monocarbamates. For dicarbamates, the substitution at carbon-2 by alkyl or aromatic groups in the monosubstitution, especially with the phenyl group, favors anticonvulsant activity. Here the mentioned relationships are illustrated. Examples of disubstitution at carbon-2 are meprobamate and its derivative, carisoprodol. On the other hand, monosubstitution with the phenyl group generates Felbamate. For the monocarbamates used as antiepileptics, we do not find information on structure-activity relationships. We can note that the carbamate functional group defines this class, and that there can be variety in the substituents attached to the oxygen or nitrogen atom, as in the cases of Cenobamate, Retigabine, and the Retigabine analog under investigation, Pinegabine. Felbamate has a history full of ups and downs. Frank Berger's group at Carter Wallace synthesized it in the late 1950s. However, its activity as an antiepileptic was discovered 30 years later. It was introduced by Carter Wallace under the brand name Felbatol, and after achieving excellent efficacy results. However, shortly after its introduction, it was withdrawn from the market due to some cases of aplastic anemia. However, this decision was re-evaluated due to its demonstrated effectiveness in severe epilepsy. and the drug was revived for the treatment of this condition. Cenobamate was patented by SK Holdings and introduced in the United States by SK Life Sciences under the brand name Xcopri. Retigabine was patented by AstraZeneca, introduced in the United States by Valent Pharmaceuticals and marketed by GSK. Subsequently, it was discontinued by GSK due to adverse reactions and limited use. Nevertheless, we include this drug for having a new mechanism of action and being a pioneer in its class. We can say that the three drugs are used in the treatment of severe epilepsy cases or those resistant to other antiepileptic drugs. The three drugs are administered orally. Felbamate and Cenobamate have relatively long half-lives. Here are the adverse reactions, both common and rare, that require medical monitoring for the three drugs. As already mentioned, for Felbamate, the risks of aplastic anemia and hepatotoxicity stand out. And for Cenobamate, the risk of potential abuse, which is why it is considered a controlled substance. And for Retigabine, the presentation of skin and retina pigmentation, one of the reasons why it was discontinued. Here are some physicochemical properties for the three drugs. The retrosynthesis and the resulting synthesis will be presented in the following videos. Thank you for your attention.